This is Fred Ricciani of TSC News, here to recap WWE NXT TakeOver Unstoppable from top to bottom. Man, I gotta admit, guys, I am a little distracted at the moment because TNA Impact Wrestling, for those that don't know, was reportedly canceled by Destination America. And some of you may wonder, well, how's this relevant to WWE? Well, one of their biggest stars ever, Samoa Joe, just debuted on NXT. And oh yeah, anytime the de facto number 2 promotion in North America, let alone the world, is on the verge of going out of business, that's a gigantic story. Now you can make the argument on a worldwide scale, AAA and New Japan Pro Wrestling are bigger and more lucrative opportunities for wrestlers. That's true. But in terms of North America, I mean, this is just a gigantic story. And before I get to this NXT TakeOver recap, I do want to mention that I reached out to a few people I do know within TNA. And, well, this is by the way, TNA canceled by Destination America. Their run ends in September. Destination America had an out clause for September. This is all reported by Dave Meltzer of WrestlingObserver.com. It requires a subscription to read the lead story in this week's newsletter. But please, if you are subscribed or think about subscribing, I seriously recommend checking it out. It's the Wall Street Journal of Pro Wrestling. And while I don't know Mr. Meltzer personally, I know a lot of people that know him personally, and I've been following his work for years. And chances are, if this was some stupid made-up rumor, he wouldn't be reporting it. So I want to get that out there right now because I see a lot of people, saying, "Oh, it's just a rumor. Is this? Is that?" Trust me, it'd be highly irresponsible if this guy didn't have the right sources putting this out there, all right? I mean, you can read the tea leaves, too. All their shoulder programming was canceled. They're abruptly moving to Wednesdays. Just a big story. But anyway, let me read this quick comment I received from a nameless TNA person right here. And here we go. Thanks for the information, Fred, but based on everything I'm aware of, there's absolutely no truth to these rumors. Things seem to be going very well. Now, I don't know if they just mentioned that to quell the report that's out there. Maybe they're just finding out for themselves. I don't know, but that's the word from someone I know within TNA. So, I guess more on that a little later. But let's go to NXT TakeOver. And again, apologies, was a little distracted. This news broke. I was trying to enjoy a great Sasha Banks Becky Lynch match, and I was just like, holy crap. It's just, yeah, it's wild, man. It is wild. By the way, I also want to send best wishes out to Scott Anderson, dealing with a little bit of a situation tonight. Wish him and his family the very best. Scott, of course, is my co-host. Great guy. Shout out to him. You can follow him on Twitter at ScottA1979. And let's start with the show. We had Tyler Breeze versus Finn Balor. Pretty decent match. Number 1 contendership on the line. Finn Balor won with the coup de grace. They wrote out Hideo Itami from the storyline because in reality, he has a shoulder injury. They reported it as a torn rotator cuff. They said he was attacked in the parking lot, and they showed exclusive footage of Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy checking on Hideo as Kevin Owens just casually walked by him. That Kevin Owens, such a nice guy, such a wonderful man. Oh, goodness gracious. Such a wonderful man. We had Rhino take on Baron Corbin. This match was kind of a badass match, These guys went at it toe to toe, did their thing. Not bad at all. Nice showcase for both men, and Baron Corbin ended up getting the win with the End of Days. Definitely longer than any Baron Corbin match you guys have seen, that's for sure. Okay. Blake and Murphy versus Enzo and Cass. Blake and Murphy got the win when, believe it or not, Alexa Bliss interfered. Well, she technically interfered. She distracted the baby faces by attacking Carmella. Wow. So much for the pixie dust fairy queen. Man, now she's like the evil fairy godmother or something. And yeah, she took out Carmella. Blake and Murphy got the win. I'm disappointed. My boys from Jersey and New York didn't get the tag titles, but hopefully they'll get them down the road. We had Emma and Dana Brooke versus Charlotte and Bayley. Bayley got a great reaction. Charlotte and Bayley ended up getting the win when Charlotte, I believe, who'd she pin? I think she actually pinned. I think she pinned Emma. Yeah, she pinned Emma. Decent match. Dana Brooke, very limited. I mean, what do you expect? She's a rookie. Emma, Charlotte, obviously Bayley can work. Solid match. Nothing spectacular, but a good showcase for all the women involved. I really don't know why Bayley's not on the main roster yet. I mean, you can make the argument for 3 out of the 4 women there. I mean, technically Emma already was, and they did nothing with her. But in regards to Charlotte, she's awesome and got a world of potential. And Bayley, awesome wrestler, and I just love her act. She just comes off like such a sweetheart. She's got an amazing connection with little girls, with kids. I mean, for a company that's doing so much charity work and so much anti-bullying work, I feel like she'd be the perfect next call-up for the women's division. I mean, she's great. She really is. So hopefully, I mean, you know what? Leave Dana Brooke there, leave Alexa Bliss and Carmella there, and call up the rest of the freaking NXT women's roster because they are great. They are great. And speaking of women and great, Sasha Banks versus Becky Lynch for the NXT Women's Championship. Jesus Christmas. This was an excellent match. Now, again, I was kind of covering this TNA story, doing a video blog, trying to gather information. So the first part of it, I was kind of half watching. And then it started getting really good, and I said, you know what? I'll revisit this TNA subject later. I gotta watch this match. And this was an excellent match. Very, very physical. I mean, just very physical. Both women worked on each other's arms. Sasha mostly worked on Becky Lynch's arm. And finally, Sasha knocked Becky off the top rope, landed on her arm, put her in the crossface. Becky had a tap out. Just excellent. Excellent stuff. I mean, really. Suplexes, kicks, armbar reversals. I mean, you had grappling. You had brawling. You had everything you could ask for in this match. It was great. Sasha Banks went clean. Came across as the bitchy heel. But you gotta respect her. She made a bank statement, pun intended. And afterwards, Becky Lynch got a standing ovation. And I gotta give an ovation to these gals. Just spectacular. Spectacular. I think I saw a tweet from Vince Verhey that summed it up perfectly. That would have been the best match at WWE Payback. I think actually that would have been the best match at a lot of pay-per-views, including maybe even WrestleMania. I mean, that's how good this match was. Excellent stuff. Vince, what the hell are you waiting for? Call these ladies up. Unless you're going to put them in Elv matches or, random 6 women tags for the last 5 minutes. And actually, in that case, keep them in NXT. And, all right, we had the introduction of the new signees from NXT, including Ua Nation, who got a nice ovation. Didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it just did. Guess I'm a natural poet there. And then we had our main event, which features a crazy, mind-boggling, surreal debut. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn. Really good match. They were going at it, quite a bit. I mean, Sami getting a lot of offense. Even suplex Kevin Owens on the float. Sami Zayn, who says El Generico doesn't have strength? That guy has got deceiving strength. Well, he is my Middle Eastern brother from another mother. But my Middle Eastern brother from another mother did not fare so well tonight. You see, he suplexed Kevin Owens. They were brawling on the outside. And then Kevin Owens gave him a pop-up powerbomb on the apron. And Sami is down. So what does Kevin Owens do? He beats his ass. Refs come around to check on Sami Zayn. What does Kevin Owens do? He beats his ass. Finally, they're able to get Sami in the ring. They check on him. What does Kevin Owens do? He beats his ass. Then the GM, William Regal, comes out, fish hooks Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens brushes him off, headbutts him out of the ring, and beats the hell out of Sami Zayn. And then he screams at the announcer, takes the announcer's chair, hits Sami Zayn with it, only until we hear some really interesting music. Now, this sounded like something that was made in Apple GarageBand or, I don't know, take your pick. Something generic or Fruity Loops or whatever, or some cheap mix from Virtual DJ. And I'm thinking, all right, who's this? I mean, this is kind of some like funky music or whatever. Maybe it was made from somebody in Full Sail University who just learned how to use GarageBand. And all of a sudden, Samoa Joe, former TNA Impact Wrestling superstar, former TNA World Champion, a dude that was in TNA for a decade, a guy that was the longest reigning Ring of Honor World Champion in history, and a guy that is highly regarded as one of the greatest wrestlers to never wrestle in WWE and one of the greatest wrestlers of the last decade. I said even decade and a half, him starting with UPW and everything. And he comes out wearing a Samoa Joe shirt, walking like Samoa Joe, acting like Samoa Joe, and Jesus Christmas, on the night we find out that TNA Impact Wrestling is done by September on television, we see one of the biggest stars ever debut in NXT with this gimmick as a Samoan badass. And oh yeah, he kept his name Samoa Joe. My mind just blew. My head exploded. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. As for people that say, oh, well, he's just an internet guy, and blah, blah, blah. Let me tell you something. Not saying Samoa Joe's in bad shape at all, but he obviously does not fit the typical WWE mold, much like Kevin Owens. And I'll tell you this. For Triple H to bring this guy in, when you know the kind of biases WWE has, let me tell you something. That's saying something. This dude is the real deal. If you haven't watched him in TNA, if you haven't watched him in ROH, go on YouTube, look up top 10 moves of Samoa Joe, look at some of his matches in Ring of Honor, look at his stuff in TNA with Kurt Angle. I mean, your mind will be blown. So here's one of the best wrestlers in the world stepping into the ring with one of the other best wrestlers in the world. And maybe you could say Kevin Owens, okay, he's not a technician or anything like that. But as far as all-around performers, one of the best in the world. And these two meet face to face. I got goosebumps. Jeremy Bowers got goosebumps. Scott Anderson got goosebumps. Everybody watching along with me got goosebumps. And Kevin Owens just kind of backed off. He just kind of backed off. And then came back out and went to confront Samoa Joe and backed off again. I would have liked to have seen some physicality. From what I hear, this deal with Joe it's not the original like rumored 2-year deal or anything like that. I think right now it's kind of like a pay per appearance thing. Kind of similar to like a Rhino or, I mean, I guess for lack of a better example, the Wolves. Although I think this is more than a tryout for Samoa Joe. So we'll see what happens there. I mean, I understand Samoa Joe extended his indie bookings into the summer, so he maintained some freedom to freelance here and there and pick up paydays. And surely being on NXT in the main event confronting Kevin Owens, that's certainly going to raise his value on the independents and internationally. So good for him. And what can I say? Hopefully it'll lead to something bigger. Hopefully it'll not only lead to a great Owens versus Joe match, but it'll lead to Samoa Joe being signed on to WWE full-time. I know he's in his mid-30s. I know he's closer to 40 than he is 30. But the guy is an asset. He really is. And at the very least, if the money's right for him, he could be a great player coach. I mean, I don't know how much he desires leaving California, where he's lived for a long time. Actually, he might even be living in Florida now, since he's been working in TNA for a long time. But he's a guy to me that would perfectly fit that player coach bill. Rhino too. Rhino's awesome as well, but I mean, Samoa Joe is just spectacular. So pretty great. I guess even though Sami Zayn was cleared, according to Paul Levesque on the NXT conference call he did with the media the other day, the injury to Sami Zayn does seem quite serious, or at least serious enough where they had to take him out. I mean, yeah, he worked the match and everything. Yeah, he took some bumps. But, some of the bumps he took were, I'd say, more tame than a typical Sami Zayn match. So perhaps he was cleared to wrestle, but going forward, he may need surgery, maybe just need some time off. I don't know. I hope everything works out for him. It sucks that he had this awesome match with John Cena, only to get injured. So best wishes to Sami Zayn. Best wishes to Samoa Joe's immediate WWE future. Should be awesome. And Kevin Owens, for those that don't know, is wrestling John Cena, presumably for the United States Championship, at Elimination Chamber. And as I mentioned on the Raw recap, yes, I firmly believe John Cena should lose to Kevin Owens. Will he? That remains to be seen. So what I'm going to do right now is take a few questions on YouTube, a few comments on Twitter. No calls tonight. I didn't realize this was going to be an insane news night and everything. But what I will do as far as when I gather more info on TNA and just kind of gather my thoughts, because it's kind of surreal for those that don't know my background. Yes, I've run TSC News for a number of years, but I also worked at Spike TV for a few years, producing various documentaries and specials, and worked on a couple shows where I booked TNA guys. And while I didn't work directly with a lot of TNA guys, only like a few, I worked indirectly with a lot of them and know a lot of people who did work directly with them. And for those that have been following this channel for a long time, know that I've practically interviewed, I'd say 80 to 90% of the TNA roster. I mean, interviewed who? Eric Young, Jesse Goddard, pretty much all the bromans, TJ Perkins, why is my mind blanking right now? D'Lo Brown, who used to be there, just a whole lot of people. AJ Styles, who was there for a while, Christopher Daniels, Jay Bradley. I mean, a lot of these guys have come and gone. Austin Aries is still there, who I've interviewed. Gail Kim. I mean, the list goes on and on. So it's even as on an acquaintance level, it's kind of sad to see these guys on the verge of losing jobs. I mean, even if TNA is paying late, they're still paying. So, best wishes to all the people there that may be losing jobs by the fall. It sucks, but believe me, I know how it feels. It sucks. No laughing matter. As far as anything else here, yeah, overall, I definitely give this show an overwhelming thumbs up. I would have liked to have seen some physicality between Joe and Owens, just because there may be people watching this for the first time that don't know who Samoa Joe is. And while the crowd reacted to him like a superstar, and I think that was great, and the announcers put him over, it would have been nice to kind of see what he was made of. Give Owens a muscle buster, a spine buster, just something to kind of show people he's not just some kind of pudgy dude that has a good mean mug and a cool shirt from Roots of Fight. But other than that, yeah, overwhelming thumbs up show. Undercard was very good. Final two matches, awesome. Well, main event, wasn't much of a match. It was more the overall spectacle. But I guess the real main event, Banks versus Becky Lynch. Go out of your way to see it. Match of the year candidate. Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. Okay, let's see here. Fred, could you see any WWE superstars heading down to NXT to rehab their careers like Tyson Kidd? Well, we've already seen Emma do it. We saw Curtis Axel do it for a cup of coffee, and that didn't work out so well for him. We saw Alex Riley do it, and that poor guy got buried anyway. Man, sucks to be him. I could see some guys. I mean, Titus O'Neil did it once, and he kind of got exposed as not a very good wrestler when he wrestled against guys like Zayn, where it's hard to have a bad match with Zayn. I'm trying to think who. Cameron, I'd say if she actually wants to be a wrestler, it would be good for her to go down there. Ava Marie was in NXT for a little while. She's been training one-on-one with Brian Kendrick. Whether or not that means she's ready for the main roster, let alone NXT, that remains to be seen. I'm trying to think who else could use a fresh coat of paint. Honestly, the Ascension. I mean, actually, you know what? I don't want the Ascension in NXT because I like NXT too much. But I guess anybody that's floundering right now, like Fandango would be good, would be perfect for the NXT audience. I guess if you could have Axel keep doing his comedy stuff, NXT could work out for him. Even Zack Ryder, you know what I mean? Like those guys. I'd say anybody at that level, it'd be good to take him to NXT and kind of freshen him up for a while. That's what I would do. Julian Bravo. Can WWE bring up Balor, Zayn, Joe, and Owens already? NXT is so much better right now. Yeah, I listened to the Triple H conference call, and he's talking about, if there was a spot open, they'd be on there already. And he was just referring to certain guys in NXT, not everybody. I'm just thinking, how is there not a spot for a Balor? How is there not a spot for Kevin Owens? It looks like he probably already has a spot. But how has there not been a spot the last 2 years for Sami Zayn? How is there not a spot the last 2.5 years for Adrian Neville? And think about the level of talent here. And these are guys that work pretty hard-hitting style, that have a lot of mileage. But you know what? They know how to work. Okay, they're used to working around crowds. They know how to draw an audience. Granted, in the past, the audience may have been 5,000 people or less. But guess what? At the end of the day, when you have the confidence, when you know that you can draw an audience, you can apply that on a bigger stage. Case in point, Daniel Bryan. Case in point, CM Punk. I don't know why they don't bring him up. I guess it's one of those things where they have to wait their turn, and Triple H maybe has to try to sift the political landmines of Vince and Kevin Dunn and the people around Vince. Seriously though, you don't keep your best talent in the minor leagues. And while NXT is great, it is still developmental. It is still the minor leagues, and well, you're missing out, WWE. You're missing out. Shamar Jode, what do you think about TNA? It's kind of sad. It's damn sad. I mean, look, as far as having sympathy for the management that ran TNA to the ground, and that includes Dixie Carter, I really don't have a lot of sympathy. I don't have a lot of sympathy for people that are late in paying guys and gals. I don't have a lot of sympathy for people that keep making the same mistakes over and over again and get chance after chance to make something happen. I do have sympathy for the people that make Impact Wrestling what it is. The unsung heroes, the production team, the referees, the crew, people like that. I do have sympathy for the professional wrestlers, the ones that are making a good living and the ones that maybe aren't making that great of a living, but guess what? They have a national platform to apply their craft. And that's something that's pretty damn rare these days. What do you want me to say? It's sad. You know, in Lucha Underground, no guarantees they'll get renewed for a second season. Even if they do, that's great. Okay, one season. But if they're not on a bigger station in the Univision family, or El Rey doesn't magically grow overnight, how viable is it? And if they're not running arena shows or anything like that, or pay-per-views, where's the money coming from? I mean, and it's one thing if Lucha Underground was a separate entity and El Rey was paying it money. But this is an entity that's technically part of El Rey and Univision and Robert Rodriguez. Now, Robert Rodriguez could, in theory, sell the rights to Lucha Underground to another network. But, look, it's not a good look. It's not a good look when TNA gets canceled. Twice! Alright, it's not a good look. It's not a good look when advertisers don't want to advertise on TNA. It's not a good look when some advertisers still to this day don't want to advertise during WWE Raw. And that is saying something considering the amount of viewers Raw gets every week. But it's also how wrestling is presented. And WWE right now, while they make a lot of money for themselves, they do not present the genre of wrestling / sports entertainment in a positive enough light to advertisers to be taken serious enough to make real, serious ad money. Now, as WWE, since it is practically an institution now for a lot of people in a lot of homes worldwide, they're always going to be able to make money, okay, unless something catastrophic happens. I mean, they have so many different revenue streams. But you know what? WWE is the standard that other promotions are going to be compared to. And unless you have an amazing alternative, which I think Lucha Underground is an amazing alternative, and combined with the platform, which unfortunately Lucha Underground currently does not have, I don't know if you can make a dent right now. There are some companies that are breaking even and are profitable, and that's great on a smaller scale. But in terms of a lot of guys being able to make a living full time, it's very tough right now. I mean, it's very, very tough right now. You know, for all the talk about MMA and how the Reebok deal is gonna kill a sponsorship market. I mean, you can make the argument the sponsorship market with MMA has been killed long before the Reebok deal, and the Reebok deal is just putting a bullet in its head. But at least for the time being, okay, there is World Series of Fighting in MMA. There is Bellator MMA on Spike TV. You know, the UFC still pays a higher rate to fighters than a lot of other organizations. There's one championships in Asia. You know, there are promotions out there. If you happen to be a fighter and dabble in kickboxing, there is glory. You know, you can make somewhat of a living in MMA if you're a reasonably high-level person or, to talent. You know, but, it's changing. With MMA, it's changing. A lot of these guys that had full-time jobs are probably going to have to hold on to their full-time jobs until they get, more opportunities. And with pro wrestling, if you're a wrestler right now that doesn't have a backup plan, and you're not in WWE, perhaps you want to look at a backup plan. Perhaps you want a degree. Perhaps you want a certification. Maybe you want to see what other opportunities are out there. Of course, there's acting and voiceovers and things that are also related to entertainment. But, I mean, the reality is, man, if you're out of a job, you're out of a job. And even if TNA is telling people backstage, hey, it's all good. Nothing's going to happen. We're fine. Blah, blah. We're going to land on our feet. Even if TNA somehow finds a way to live, by September, I mean, you gotta think. I've worked for some startups before, and some startups worked out great, and others not so much. And there's been times in my career where I've had to be proactive, and that's what you have to do. You always have to be proactive. You can't just you can't just see all this chaos around you and just la 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 la, nothing's going on. So what do I think? I'm sad. It's disappointing. Honestly, not surprised. And what can I say? I hope NXT grows. We're going to provide more opportunities for young wrestlers, even if not all of them end up making the main roster. I pray that Lucha Underground gets a bigger platform, gets more money. I hope Ring of Honor can maybe get on Spike or something like that. I hope Global Force Wrestling can find TV. I really do hope that wrestling continues to rise rather than kind of be in the status quo or, possibly go downhill. Maybe not WWE, of course. But again, when the number 2 promotion in North America goes out of business or is on the verge of going out of business, no matter how badly it's squandered its opportunities, it's never a good thing. It's never a good thing. I live by Atlantic City, all right? 4 or 5 casinos went out of business, all right? I'll tell you this. They were in panic mode when 1 or 2 went out of business. It's never good. It's never good. You think all these other casinos are celebrating that 4 or 5 casinos went out of business in a 1-year span in New Jersey because of the bad economy? No. Contrary to popular belief, that's a very bad thing. So that's my thoughts on that. Do you think Jeff Jarrett could buy out the TNA time slot now so he gains advantage of international? Oh, buy out TNA? Maybe you could buy them out of their contract. I don't know. It's a good question. It's a good question. I'll have to see if I can get somebody on there that could answer that. I can't, personally. Fred, who do you think should be the next call-up in NXT? Who shouldn't be? Balor, Owens officially, Zayn when he gets healthy. Hideo Itami should have probably already been on the main roster. It's unfortunate he got injured. I mean, you make the argument that, Colin Cassidy and Enzo Amore would spice things up, even though they're not great in the ring. Becky Lynch. I mean, pretty much the entire women's division besides Dana Brooke and Alexa Bliss and Carmella. I mean, there's plenty of people. Could have called up tomorrow and I wouldn't have a problem with it. Plenty of people. Bruno Timpano asks, did Regal hint at stripping the title off Owens? Seems like he said, I'll take it off of you. I didn't read his lips, but that is interesting. Maybe they do take the title off Owens, and that leads to them winning the U.S. title at Elimination Chamber. That would make a lot of sense, actually. That would make a lot of sense. Okay. Scott Anderson says, I know it's about money, but I really hope these guys stay in NXT. Main roster just doesn't know how to use talent at all. It's a bit, dude, I know, selfishly, yeah, we'd like to see them all in NXT, continue to flourish, but it is a business, and nobody grows up saying, I want to be on NXT. People grow up saying, I want to be in WWE. I want to be on Raw. I want to be on SmackDown. And at the end of the day, especially if you're a guy like Zayn or Owens or Balor or any of those guys, and Balor's getting pretty good money from what I understand anyway, just being in developmental because they had to lure him from Japan. At the end of the day, you need to give these guys an opportunity. If they're ready to go, they can enhance your roster. Look, WWE had 2 years to come up with ideas for Adrian Neville, and now he's feeding with Bo Dallas. So if it took him 2 years to come up with ideas for Adrian Neville, who's to say that they're necessarily going to have the perfect idea for Balor or anybody else? That's just the risk you take. And look, as much as I hate the fact that some of these guys start off with crappy booking, a guy like CM Punk, and it was a testament to his talent, but he overcame bad booking and became a big star. And he made WWE a lot of money. He made himself a lot of money. Same thing with Daniel Bryan. Now, granted, those guys are also kind of the exceptions to the rule, but it is doable. Hey, it is doable. It might take longer for some of these guys, but it is doable. And look, as Vince gets older, as Triple H gains more power, now he's on the board of directors, all of a sudden these guys that they're bringing up from NXT aren't just quote-unquote indie guys. They're Triple H's guys. They're guys that Triple H handpicked and signed himself. Which means you would think Triple H is going to do everything he can. You would think he would do everything he can to protect these guys. Why he didn't protect Neville on Monday? I don't know. But I think y'all get what I'm saying. Okay. Can you make the argument NXT is a better brand in developmental territory? It's both. It's a brand and developmental territory. As far as a brand that breeds kind of excitement and passion from wrestling fans, yeah, I think it's probably better than. It's a good question. It's a great brand. It's a great brand for what it is right now and how it's grown rapidly, almost kind of organically. Developmental. Don't judge the guys like, say, Rollins and Ambrose, because those guys were already good. I don't know if I'd even, look at Reigns as a product of NXT, even though he wrestled in NXT. Oh, it's tough to say, Gibby. I'd say wait a couple years. Wait a couple years when the ROH alumni and like the New Japan alumni like Balor and the Noah alumni like Kenta are all on the main roster. I'd say wait and see. When it comes to the women, yeah, they've hit a home run. They've absolutely hit a home run when it comes to the women. As far as the male wrestlers, Baron Corbin, well, let's just say you took out Owens and some of those experienced guys in NXT. Who you got as far as homegrown guys? Enzo and Cass, great act, not great wrestlers at all. Baron Corbin, nice act, not a good wrestler. I'm trying to think now. I mean, it's tough. I mean, Bull Dempsey, solid hand. I don't know if I'd call him great. I don't know if I'd call him great. He's not exactly lighting it up either. I guess the one guy that would be really, really homegrown, although he's going back to the FCW days, is Tyler Breeze. And Tyler Breeze, I think, is a very underrated talent. And you can make the argument a guy like Tyler Breeze should also already be on the main roster. Depends. From what I've seen thus far, if NXT didn't have those ROH guys and those former New Japan guys and people that are more experienced from Dragon Gate and all that jazz, there would not be the buzz NXT has right now. That's for sure. That's for sure. Look, if you're Triple H and you want to take credit for Balor and all these guys, you know what? At the end of the day, he did recruit him. He did sign him. Even if it's as simple as saying yes to signing a LeBron James or drafting a Michael Jordan, even if it's a no-brainer, at the end of the day, you're going to get the credit for making that decision. JB says, TNA is irrelevant when NXT is still trending and they're not. Well, NXT is also a WWE brand with a hell of a lot of buzz. And a lot more talent with a lot more followers are tweeting about it now than they are about TNA. The Cool Kid 93 says, once I get a job, I'm going to buy the network. I'm missing out. Dude, it was a free month. It's still a free month. How about this, Cool Kid? Sign up for the free month, cancel before the month is over, and watch NXT TakeOver, watch Payback, and watch Elimination Chamber. And then you can thank me later, as Drake would say. All right, we'll take a couple more questions, and I'm going to get on out of here and figure out what the hell I just read and saw tonight furthermore. All right. Scott says, what if they rename Joe Samoa next week? Better than Joey Samoan or Joey... Actually, it would be funny if they named like Joey Simone. I like Joey Ramone. All right, that was a bad joke. All right, anyway, folks, I'm going to get on out of here. I hope you enjoyed this recap of NXT TakeOver Unstoppable. Apologize if I was a little flustered. Just, when you know people personally that may be on the verge of losing jobs and stuff, it does kind of get a little distracting and everything. Also, again, I want to send my best wishes out to Scott and his mama. Hope everything's all good there. I want to thank you so much for your time. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. Please share this with all your friends. And if you are listening to this on demand on soundcloud.com/TSC News, please follow us on there and spread the good word. If you would like to make a donation to TSC News, all proceeds go towards our production costs and improving our content for all you. All you got to do is go on the front page of YouTube, youtube.com/thesportscourier. Click on the blue support button. Make your donation. Not only will you see some improvements from TSC shortly, but you will get some free swag in return. You can ask anybody that's donated. I tend to hook you all up with some good stuff, including some collectibles that I have stashed away in the garage. So you never know what you're going to get from TSC News. As far as what's coming up later in the week, I will have a SmackDown report up. I will have an interview up exclusively on SoundCloud with wrestling legend Les Thatcher. And I will be recapping UFC 187 Johnson versus Cormier. And I know a lot of people are asking me about the Amir Khan and Chris Algieri fight at Barclays Center. Whether I'll be covering that live, that remains to be seen. I am working on that, but I'll certainly give you guys an update very shortly as soon as I hear from him. So, until next time, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. As always, woo! Enjoy the matches.